All right, welcome to the Blurry Dude Show, the show that begs the question, why not go outside? Today we're going to be talking about remakes, reboots, and super sequels, which of course we'll get into exactly what each of those things is. One of them I'm hoping I made up, but maybe somebody else has already used it. Then I'll be sad. It's kind of like robotics. Damn you, Asimov! No. How dare you coin a phrase I wanted to coin 20, 30 years before I existed. But, okay, so first, I'm actually going to do one announcement because I failed to do this on the previous two episodes, and I do actually want to thank Murdoch Industrial for providing us a studio yet again. Thanks for being there for us, guys. Particularly Tony Price. Thank you very much, dude. So let's go ahead and dive into the topic, and we're going to define, obviously, a remake. A remake is... I don't want to say verbatim, and Mongo, keep me honest on this, because some of this is actually like real terminology that's going around. Okay. If you have an issue, okay, we can't really hear you all that well anyway. I'm not going to tell you who I'm talking to, because otherwise he'll drown me in pudding. But but wave or say like no, look it up, you know. But anyway, so for me, maybe that's how I get out of the legal liability of being wrong by saying, to me, what it means to me.
Okay.
Is
that's fair enough.
Okay. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's
it
not.
It is now.
If any politicians are watching, go away. Just hang yourself with a belt.
Everybody has their own opinion about stuff, so.
And
show's
things.
mostly about opinions.
Right. Well, that's yeah.
Valid point.
Mm-hmm. And opinions are like assholes. Everyone's got them, and only mine smells like roses. Anyway. So, no, I think it's B.O.
Oh, maybe.
But,
that's body odor.
Right. Well, it's
still
part of the
body odor.
Right. Boy, we've really right out of the gate off the rails. Okay, so remakes are not verbatim necessarily, but an actual attempt at remaking a movie the way that it was, but with new people or whatever, or even the same people. I can't think of any specific instances where that's...
I was just trying to think of one. Okay.
Give an example of a remake.
I was going to say Freaky Friday, but no, that story changed.
But it wasn't...
The Parent Trap? I'm going with Disney. Why am I going with Disney?
Let me think about that.
But
Wait a minute.
I think The Parent Trap was
Wait
the
a
same.
minute. So let me try to define remake and reboot, and then we'll have that, because...
Yeah,
I would call Freaky Friday
a remix or something.
A remake. I don't know. Is it a reboot?
All right, so it would be no. It's not a reboot. It's definitely a remake. It's a different variation.
Careful, you're knocking your pop filter.
Oh, sorry. It's a different variation, but I think a remix would be like Father Like Son.
A reboot?
No, I think a remix. I
didn't even put remix isn't even on the list, man.
I thought you said
you did say remix.
Remake, REMAKES, remakes,
reboots, and super mixes,
and super sequels.
Oh, okay. Because we did talk about remix before, and that's what I was thinking about it. But just in case we were going to do the whole remix thing, like Father Like Son would be sort of like a remix, because it's like Freaky Friday, but only with two guys instead of two girls.
Oh.
Okay.
Or two,
okay.
Or two
all right, so that's a remake.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about the new Ghostbusters, which I'm ashamed about, because it's
I haven't even seen it, so
I haven't either.
I don't really want to.
So
I know. I've heard that exact
I just watched
thing.
the first Ghostbusters not too long ago.
I think it would be a reboot, because they tried a different story, because they did have their own origin story.
So that brings us to the reboot. So a remake is when they're trying to remake the same thing.
Movie.
A reboot is where they're basically throwing away the original author's creativity. Not that I'm giving any hints as to how I feel about them, but where they throw away all the originality and the original author or artist's idea, and they decide to go another direction, which is the way they put it. And then you have a super sequel, and super sequels, this is a very special category, especially for me, that is near and dear to parts of my body, not necessarily my heart. Like, for instance, episode 1, 2, and 3
of Oceans.
No, of Star Wars. Are super sequels.
Okay, wow.
They're technically super prequels, but they go above and beyond the original intended movies, particularly in the cases of trilogies. So, Live Free or Die Hard, for instance, would be a super sequel because it's beyond the trilogy, and it's long beyond the trilogy.
Oh, okay. So,
So it doesn't necessarily have to be beyond a trilogy because, like the Harry Potters go beyond a trilogy, but they're not super sequels because they're all they're
Part of the same
intended-
story.
They're all part of the
Right.
same storyline.
So pretty much any movie that has surpassed a trilogy is a super sequel.
If it surpassed a trilogy, or if it surpassed a series that was meant to be. Okay,
like
so
James Bond.
No,
Or
because I won't put James Bond in there because they are intended and the books exist.
Okay.
Although I don't know if the new ones do, and if I'm wrong about that, I don't really care because it's sucked ever since Pierce Brosnan. So
And you said
I'm
you
sorry,
weren't gonna be
Daniel Craig,
biased.
right? Daniel Craig.
Dan
is the
Craig's
guy?
been doing a good job.
I think so too. I think you're the only person that doesn't think so.
You cannot blame Daniel Craig for the writers.
I can blame him for
Well, that's
I can blame him for not looking suave. I can blame like
Definitely an
guys.
opinion.
I could no because here's the deal, okay? You put
Roger-
Daniel Craig. Don't bring up Roger Moore. Don't you bring up
not
Roger
suave.
Moore?
I don't
He
think-
was suave.
I don't think he
the
was
man was suave. He was cheesy, but he was suave.
You can't be
Okay.
suave and be cheesy at the same time.
Yeah,
It does
agreed.
not
You
work.
can't.
Agreed.
You
It's
can.
not possible. No.
That was a different time. That's like saying
it was
Adam
the
West-
80s,
that's
so
like
it was
saying,
okay.
No. Also, it wasn't the 80s. It was like the 60s. But
Roger Moore?
yeah.
No, Roger Moore was the 80s because that was Cannonball Run and everything else.
Yeah, that was more 80s.
That was 80s.
Silent Observer is attempting to throw things out of his pit. So Bean must be right.
I like that.
But being right, yes, I know you do. No.
When doesn't a woman?
No, it's one of the reasons why I don't go there, man. Don't do that. So
It was nice knowing you.
So in case you guys didn't know, Mini Dude here will be taking over when I die. And so he still has a lot to learn. He's young. He's still doing his
joke.
apprenticeship.
It was a joke.
That doesn't fly. You can't just say it was just a joke on the Blurry Dude show, all
It was a
right?
prank,
Otherwise,
man, it was a prank.
Guy could have gotten away with so much more. Anyway, so Daniel Craig is the worst James Bond that ever happened because I could believe him in any movie where you replaced Liam Neeson with him, but I could not see Daniel Craig Remington Steele.
Seriously?
Seriously. Now, and I'm not just saying like because when Pierce Brosnan happened, I was like, he's not Sean Connery, and I was like
Nobody's Sean
6,
Connery.
but Roger Moore was Sean Connery. No,
No,
Roger
he
Moore was
not.
Roger Moore. Well, here's the deal. Here's the deal with Roger Moore. Roger Moore is to James Bond what Adam West was to Batman. In that you cannot compare, say, Adam West and Michael Keaton because Adam West's Batman was completely different. Roger Moore's Bond was completely different. Okay, he was still suave in his own right, but he wasn't. You're right. He wasn't Pierce Brosnan. He wasn't.
Sean Connery?
Well, Sean Connery. I was trying to think of the other
Timothy
one.
Dalton?
Timothy Dalton. Thank you. He wasn't.
Oh, I forgot
Although
about
here's
him.
the deal. That was at least there was a transition there because I don't know. This isn't chronologically accurate. But if you look at the James Bond scale, okay, you've got Roger Moore way over here in Sillyville. Okay, like almost on the level of In Like Flame.
You cannot blame the actor for the writing.
No,
Once again.
well, wait a minute now, and the writer's terrible. Don't get me wrong, okay? Like I've tried, and his name's Ian, and so I have a special place in my heart for the guy. But the problem here is that he's really a terrible writer, and most of James Bond's books were in fact homoerotic. I mean, at least in my opinion, just like Anne Rice. Now that I've offended everybody possible,
The whole viewer.
yeah, the viewer. No, but seriously, like the books were. You had to forgive the books for a lot of weird, like
I haven't-
off-topic kind of stuff.
I haven't
Like,
read any of the books.
He did these weird tangents, kind of like Dan Brown, but in a respectable way.
I don't think Dan Brown tangents. I think he just goes into extreme. Well, I guess
He goes into extreme. He's like, and just before she pulled the trigger, the purple satin drapes that were purchased at Kmart on sale during a thunderstorm in which three trucks.
That was the worst
to
sentence ever.
And like,
Did she buy it during a thunderstorm, or was the setting during a thunderstorm?
well, she bought it during a thunderstorm. Why are we picking apart my arbitrary example? Stop that.
That was a horrible example.
All right, go ahead.
But anyway,
just finish up your
right. The books are tangential. He goes into a lot of character description that's a little unnecessary for me. It's like, okay, I get it. James Bond is bulging with muscle. All right, like, don't beat me in the face with it. Then he'll do completely. But see, at the same time, I guess I shouldn't complain about that because he also goes into some pretty heavy detail as far as like some of the gadgetry. And I like that part.
I like that, and they took that out of the movies. Like they took that out of the
that kind of sucks.
the new
Right, but the
Bonds.
character in the books remained more or less the same. And he was this suave, sophisticated, and Daniel Craig's not enough of a. I mean, I just don't think that he's quite enough of a pretty boy, or he's a little too.
Robotic?
No, he's a little too American badass to be James Bond. I realize he's not, but he doesn't feel like that. I just went through all of this and my tux is impeccable. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'll
he doesn't
give you that.
give that.
See,
Yeah,
to me,
I
he
will agree
did,
with you.
though.
To me, he's like, I'm going to rip off my sleeve and use it to,
Choke
See,
you out.
I like
That
that Craig because his first appearance was what Castle Royale, correct?
Casino Royale.
Casino. I was at Castle Royale.
Close enough.
Casino Royale. No, it's not close. I was completely wrong on that
They
one.
both started with C's. It was good.
But yeah, he was good in Casino Royale. I thought because that the first scene, like, it's freaking amazing. The first scene, action scene, isn't just. It's
Okay,
just
all
amazing.
right. I'll tell you what. I will stop knocking him just for the purpose of moving forward, but I don't like Daniel Craig as James Bond.
Okay.
I don't.
All right.
I liked all of the other ones. The one I was most skeptical about when I was a kid was Pierce Brosnan being James Bond.
See, that's the one I had a problem
because I
with.
grew up, the first James Bonds that I watched were Timothy Dalton. Then I watched that's what I was going to say. So you've got this scale. You've got Roger Moore, then you have Timothy Dalton, then you have Sean Connery, because Timothy Dalton's kind of in between
Sean
Roger
Connery
Moore's.
was before.
I said it's not chronological.
Oh.
I'm talking about like as far as because Timothy Dalton was still a little cheesy, but was a little bit more serious than Roger Moore.
See,
And Sean Connery was a little more serious than that, but kind of couldn't take it seriously because of the era. And then Pierce Brosnan was. I think Pierce Brosnan, to me, when I read the books, Pierce Brosnan was the closest to the book character.
well, Pierce was supposed to be before Dalton, but
Right.
but with Pierce, he was stuck with Remington Steele for a bit, and so after
Right.
that was over with, then he became Bond. To me, Timothy Dalton was the worst Bond for me.
The worst?
Yeah, he was the worst for me. Craig is fourth to me only because when I started watching the James Bond, it was Sean Connery.
And Sean Connery, yeah. I mean,
He was the first, and then Roger Moore was second,
Right.
and then Pierce, and then Craig. So it's just.
so
I
he's
kinda
still at the
watched
bottom of your list. So
Yeah, he's still at the
okay,
but
all
not
right, all
not
right.
by
I still like you.
not
then.
by the
Still like.
not by the acting, but I mean just
I'm not
in general.
necessarily. Yeah, I'm not talking about the acting necessarily. Daniel Craig's
or-
obviously. I mean, they hired him to be Bond, so he's. These people they do know what they're doing most of the time. Because I will say the other thing that they did when Q died, I was like, nope. Franchise over. I will not accept another Q. He was Q. And then they went, John Cleese. And I went, oh, you bastard. You had to go and pull that card. All right, fine. Of course he's
guess so.
But they
fantastic. He's
did
John
they use
Cleese.
John Cleese as Q, or was he the because I remember him being the assistant, but I don't remember him being actual Q.
I thought he was actual Q.
Because I remember him being what? Well, should I call him R? And
Yeah,
that's
I think
I remember
I think
that.
they did change.
And I was expecting him to be Q, and then they had.
But for expedience sake, yes,
Use your words.
It is possible that he's not Q, but for the sake of the argument, he's the Q.
He felt like the Q.
Right.
All right. I agree with that.
And that was a great choice. It was just a great choice because, come on, he's John Cleese.
Yeah.
And if you don't know who John Cleese is, Google that, because watch everything he's ever been in, because he's fantastic. He's a hilarious person, and he's a brilliant actor. And anyway, one of my all-time favorites.
I think we need to move on because I think we're getting off base.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm not counting Bond as any of those things because I think it's still all canon, and I think it's still all kind of happening. Mm-hmm. Like that's one of those exceptions. Rocky. I wouldn't even start talking Rocky movies.
There's a lot of Rocky.
There is a super sequel, though. Yeah. The super sequel where they completely break from the original story arc as it was intended, and with his son.
Creed.
Creed.
You're talking about the Creed one.
Yeah.
The newest one.
To me, that could be considered a super sequel.
Yeah, because it is part of that franchise.
But it's still a continuation.
Right.
Now, the reason that the two that I think of, well, the three that I think of specifically, when I say super sequel, are Star Wars has done it twice because they did it with the super prequels, the 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
And then when Disney decided to throw they have reboot super sequels, which that's a whole nother Disney.
Yeah.
You've done great with I was shocked. I actually had to give it up for Disney for continuing Marvel with some respect, respectability. But you've destroyed what George Lucas has already destroyed twice. What?
You didn't like the Rogue One or the? No, that's all they did was Rogue One. But the Force Awakens and
okay. BB-8 is what? He's an astromech, right?
Correct.
Okay, and he's small and he rolls around and he beeps and he's got a little bit of attitude, right?
Correct.
Okay, does that remind you of anybody?
Yeah.
Who?
R2-D2.
Okay. The planet that she starts out on. Is it not a desert planet?
Yeah, I get that.
Okay. And she's running from the Empire.
Right.
And
No.
She's all angsty.
I get what you're going with this because me and my friends
I feel like
we've talked about
before.
this. And we were just like, you know what? It's like it's pretty much what we had when Abrams did the is it a reboot?
Yes. Well, that's one of my other examples. To me, I'm going to go. Well, let's finish with the. All right. So we've got our reboots, remakes, and super sequels definitions. Right? We agreed that. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and dive in with J.J. Abrams' Star Trek because despite Lens Flare the movie, I have to admit, I'm a little sold. Like. I was like, all right, especially after Khan.
All right.
Okay, and for all of you who are like, oh no, because you guys are like super foamers, let me slow you down for a second and just remind you that Ricardo Montalban played an Asian man. Okay? So I'm good with Benedict Cumberbatch. All right? Totally good. And I can't remember the guy's name, so I shall henceforth refer to him as Sylar from Heroes.
Zachary Quinto, I believe.
Thank you. Fantastic Spock. I didn't think anybody could do Spock because near and dear to my heart, okay? Don't touch Data. Ever. Yeah. J.J. Abrams, if you do not hire Brent Spiner, if he's dead and you don't have a seance to bring his ghost back to do Data, I will find you and I will Liam Neeson you.
Yeah.
But, anyway. But Spock, he did. He totally took Leonard Nimoy's character and was great with it.
Yeah.
I like it. Now, TV show, Star Trek Discovery. What the hell are you doing?
What did you do to our Klingons?
You can't say anything until you watch more of it, I don't think.
I have seen enough to say that the Klingons should not look like they belong on Land of the Lost.
Yeah, no, I do agree.
And they're entirely too... Okay, so I'm going to say this in a weird way. So they shouldn't be quite so primitive and quite so primal. Don't get me wrong. They're very primitive and very primal in their attitudes and in their religious beliefs, okay? But they were still sophisticated.
Yeah.
All right, and definitely technologically advanced. I mean, they were a real warrior race, and you have gone and turned them into a joke. Not to mention the horrendous way in which you guys have absolutely violated the Star Trek Federation uniforms. Okay?
Yeah. What
is that shiny shit for?
Everybody, you know what? You are like maybe the fifth person who talked about the uniforms.
Sequins? Really? I mean, I know they're not, but they might as well be. Okay? And the characters, I
can't stand the girl.
You want a strong female lead? I can't believe I'm about to. You people made me say this, okay? And by you people, I mean the people that are currently making Star Trek Discovery.
What do you mean by you people?
The Star Trek Discovery people.
I have to go to the mic for that one. I broke a rule.
I want Janeway back. Okay,
wow.
right, because if you want a strong female lead, there she was. You already did it.
I thought you hated Janeway.
I do hate that. Almost as much as I hate Archer. Almost. Okay.
It was a good show.
No, I'm talking about Captain Archer from Enterprise. I will sit down and watch Archer on repeat before I will watch the first episode of Star Trek Discovery again.
See, here's my feeling on it. I've only watched the two first episodes of Star Trek, so I really can't say anything. I need to watch the rest to figure out where they were going.
That's where I agree with you.
I will because they're Star Trek, I'll give them a chance to redeem themselves, but I'm telling you right now, the character development, guys, it sucks. What you have done to the universe is so dramatically different that you might be gaining a new audience, okay, which I get is the point. You're destroying the old one. If anybody has any, kind of like passion towards canon whatsoever, I realize this is all reboot stuff.
Have you seen any of them?
No.
Because this is based on the J.J. Abrams universe, isn't it?
The main girl
Yes.
is the girl
Yes,
from
it
Once
is.
Upon
Okay.
a Time.
Yes, it
Well, I
is.
told you that.
But it's supposed to be before Kurt.
Which
Ugh.
Emma?
It's a prelude.
the
Well,
girl that
it's a
betrays
prelude.
all
I'm already
that
hating
was
it. They
with,
changed the Klingons.
Right.
I'm not really a
when
fan
they
of
got
that.
Peter Pan.
And
I'm
You
sorry.
realize that we're having a
sorry.
conversation.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
and it was. I don't know. I want to watch the rest of it, but I already know that I'm not really a huge fan of the process.
Right. So I'm not going to say reboots, you can't do them, but
You should think about it before you do it.
yes, tread carefully. Remakes. Now, we're going to go. I guess I'm the cynic. I hate all of these things. Okay, I hate.
Wait a minute. What about like Stargate? What does that qualify as? When you
Which
have a
one?
movie and then you turn it into a TV show.
Yeah,
That's a
but
completely different topic.
Yeah,
What,
but
like
there's-
Firefly? What if you make it a TV show and then make it a movie? Because they did that.
They do that with Stargate did that too. They did a movie, then they did a TV show, then they did two movies, and two more TV shows.
When they just did Serenity, they ended up canceling it. I don't think they realized
They
how
had
big
to, I
of
think
a-
they had to
That
do
was
it
a
because they
good-
didn't get to finish the show and people
Yeah.
wanted the
But
ending.
Fox wanted a show. They wanted a movie in space. So that's when they gave Joss I have to say Joss because I always end up saying Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they gave Wheaton, they gave Wheaton the money. It's like, hey, make us, pretty much make us some money. Do Firefly the movie, and that's when Serenity came in.
Right.
It was a
Right.
good movie too.
Yeah. So
And I think
It
they
was a
did
good
pretty
show.
job of it.
it was.
I loved the show.
It was a great
Yeah.
show,
Yeah.
and then they
was.
canceled it, and then
Yeah.
they threw. I think they threw the episodes out of.
And I
order.
think what happened was it traumatized poor Joss. Because then he went on to do Buffy.
dude.
I'm with
See,
them on this one. I can't do Buffy. No.
Buffy was before? Buffy was before?
Oh, we have to look.
yeah, we.
And then he did Firefly. So somebody hit him in the head. He did Firefly. And then they hit him in the head again? And he just went back to retard?
dude, you no.
No.
You were so wrong.
No.
Nope.
No.
Buffy was
because,
awesome.
No. The movie. was awesome.
Oh no!
The TV show was horrible.
No, the TV show was great. The movie was horrible.
I don't even know how to respond to that. I don't.
Okay, the series Buffy the Vampire Slayer went from the TV series was from 97 to 2003.
It's a
I just want to say one thing to you, okay? I'll do anything for you. Clap.
That was a good line.
It was a fantastic line.
I'm not gonna
That
lie.
line was better than the first 3 seasons of Buffy.
No, it was better than the first season of Buffy.
He's right.
Because
Yep, Firefly was from 2002 to 2003. Yeah. So Buffy was before.
And it lasts longer.
So did Jersey Shore.
Dude,
And I'm not saying Joss Whedon was responsible for Jersey Shore in any way, shape, or form, or was
Buffy
he?
had some awesome episodes. Though. They had the musical was awesome. The
Musical?
gentleman episode was awesome.
There's a Buffy the Vampire musical?
Yeah, they did it for an hour.
Oh my
It was
goodness.
fantastic.
kidding?
Fantastic.
Oh my god.
Next episode's going to be shot in the parking lot. You guys remember Punch in the Faceogram? That shit was real. Okay, so... Man.
They,
I'm going to have to devote another episode
like,
to
I'm
this.
I don't even know you.
Who are you, Mongo? You're like, got so disconnected.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so on that bombshell, wow. I really don't like remakes, reboots, and super sequels or Buffy. Or Charmed, or Angel. Good God, man. You do realize that you're a prepubescent girl, right?
Have you seen my boobs?
And on that bombshell...
Anyway,
where do we go from
Right.
here?
It only gets worse,
Proceed.
folks. Spoiler alert: Buffy sucks. The movie was, but how can you not like the movie?
I wasn't. Okay, let me put this in perspective. I enjoyed some of the stuff, and I didn't totally hate it. I enjoyed some of the stuff, and it was cheesy, and you have to admit it was cheesy.
I thought that was the point.
And
It was kind of like My Boyfriend's Back. Nobody actually liked that movie or took it seriously.
But from my understanding, it was supposed to be something different, and then, of course,
That's what he says.
yeah,
Yeah.
and of course, because Seth Green was in it through the whole movie, and then they cut all his parts out.
Right.
So they pretty much gave him a second chance when he was in the series,
Right.
which is cool because he became the werewolf. But like me and my friends had said that Buffy was I went with friends, so it was kind of enjoyable with friends, but at the same time it was still a bad movie.
It was, but it was a bad movie in a way that you had to love it. Like
Like a bad car accident? You just can't not look.
Don't tell mom the babysitter's dead.
Oh,
Bad.
jeez, really?
Yeah. You know what? I forgive that entire movie. I even forgive Christina Applegate for one line she didn't even deliver, and that's "dishes are done, dude."
What?
Brilliant, priceless.
It's way,
That sounds really cheesy.
it's way for
They're
you.
doing shot pulls. She. Well, I'm not going to get into that whole thing.
Please don't.
We'll force you to watch it. I mean, we'll watch it with you.
Tie him down.
But
down with a
right,
chair.
yeah, duct tape his eyelids open.
Don't scream until it's over.
Exactly. You're going to do well on this show. That's Mini Dude here. That said that. Okay. Anyway, so going back to the other stuff, can we at least agree that Disney has screwed up Star Wars?
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely. Definitely.
I can't do that. I can't do
sit
that.
over
'Cause I enjoy. I accepted what Force Awaken. I accepted Force Awaken as it is, and I pretty much enjoyed it. I was okay with it. I didn't say I was like, oh my god, this is the greatest movie ever.
No.
But at the same time, I accept for what it is and enjoy it. And the whole point of making the movie is to try to get a whole generation in.
Oh, see, that's a cop-out.
And-
It's such a cop-out.
And I kind of enjoy it because my godniece before, she wasn't into the whole Star Wars thing, but when she saw it, she enjoyed it, and now she's into seeing like the old Star Wars. She's all into it, and we're just like, wow.
Okay, I do have to agree with that because I wasn't into the new, old Star Wars.
The original.
But-
yeah, the original.
but wait a minute.
But I'm pretty sure if kids start, or not even just kids, but the generation nowadays, if they watched
If
it
they
first,
started with episode 1, I think that would be enough. Okay? We gave you people Jar Jar Binks. What did you do?
Oh,
I forgave you. But let me summarize the history of Star Wars for everybody, okay? So George Lucas
That's
has
gonna
this
be
incredible,
really long
innovative
summary.
idea. He has this brilliant idea with this brilliant story, which is basically just a Western in space. So it wasn't really that brilliant, but it was brilliant. Okay, he even puts this emo, whiny brat on this planet, and he's gonna save the universe. And let's face it, Luke was whiny. I want to go to the academy, but then George Lucas didn't feel like with all the flagship Star Destroyer
okay.
that Darth Vader is in the very opening of the entire franchise, that model was over 6 feet long. Jeez. The thing was an absolute work of art. It was brilliant. Okay? It wasn't, click here, copy paste, and now we have a ship.
Back in the day, they did stuff.
Right. They did the shit out of stuff. And things. Yeah. And with Jim Henson. Okay? Yoda's a fucking Muppet, and we didn't care if his lips were out of sync. Because you gave us something to believe in. All right? I forgive you for the
he even have
CGI.
lips?
I forgive... Well, I don't know. He had like these crusty... I think they were actually... like elephant feet matching. But... I will forgive the CGI for Yoda on crack because we were
Yoda
all
on
waiting
crack.
for it. Yeah, when he fights,
When he fights, and then the new ones.
Dooku.
In the second one,
yeah,
in Attack of the Clones,
yeah.
I love that.
No,
Yeah,
I know.
Okay.
That's
Awesome.
that's the one time I will forgive the CGI. I'm ambivalent about it because it's
because
like
you couldn't make a Muppet do that.
you don't know Jim Henson. Okay,
He wasn't around to do it.
Brian Henson was.
Well, you said
Just saying. Henson,
I
They
still
said
don't
Brian
think you
Henson.
could.
Jim Henson's workshop. Yes, and let me explain. Okay, this is a studio that made the world's largest puppet / Muppet. Okay, to date, I believe, which was the door from the labyrinth that actually did interlock when they shut the doors and step off of the wall.
See, I've never seen the Labyrinth.
That is
I haven't either.
incredible.
Yeah.
They are capable, and don't tell me that they can't do more sci-fi after Star Trek or after Star Wars because Farscape.
Yeah.
Just saying,
Yeah.
okay. The Hensons got it. All right, and you just went and you CGI'd all of that innovation and artistic quality out of it, but forgiving that for a moment and forgiving the fact that they did the same thing Star Trek did with the whole we're going to go back in time, but somehow all the ships look like Flight of the Navigator quality.
Yeah.
Like
Which they are remaking.
Flight of the Navigator?
Yes.
Wait a minute, we don't have. God, we're gonna have to we got 6 minutes left. What the hell is happening? Well, we have 11. I know it's the 5 minute, but all right. So history of Star Wars. George Lucas makes this brilliant thing, which dozens upon dozens upon dozens of people pour their hard work and probably emotional well-being into to build these beautiful models and to do this really innovative, captivating thing that was cutting edge. Keep in mind that it was cutting edge. It was doing things nobody had done, at least to that quality. And then he decided that wasn't good enough. He needed more banthas and star wipes. Okay? It went back and did that and disrespected a dead actor by removing him from the movie to replace him with a shitty actor from the next trilogy. Okay? The Force Ghost.
Yeah, I had a problem with that. That was kind
Okay?
of wrong.
They removed an actor. You've got to feel a way about that.
I didn't like that at all.
Okay?
Yeah.
So then George Lucas was like, this wasn't good enough the first time around. It's time to repaint the Mona Lisa, okay? Did Da Vinci touch his shit up? No. Not that one, not once it was on a wall somewhere. I'm just saying. Then, I don't know. Don't call me out on shit. Then he himself does not write the next movies. He hires Terry Brooks, fantastic fantasy writer, fantastic fantasy writer, to do what brought us Jar Jar Binks. And I've since forgiven him, okay, in his infinite stupid fluffiness. And what does he do after he goes through all of this pain and suffering to bring us something that everybody else is doing? After he was the first to do so much, he went and did what everybody else was doing with the CGI, okay? Then, after even hundreds of people poured their artistic souls into writing books for the series, following canon, then George Lucas sells the shit to Disney, who immediately throws out decades of authors, artists, animators, model creators did to bring us BB-8.
Yeah.
The movie.
Why are you,
Not even original.
why are you mad at BB-8, man?
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm mad at
old
Kylo
lady
Ren
that's
too,
in it.
but I don't have enough time to be mad at Kylo Ren at the moment. Okay? Who, by the way, wants to follow in Darth Vader's footsteps. So he should be helping Luke, actually. I don't know if Kylo didn't see the episode where Vader died, but...
He's got the... Doesn't he practically have this helmet in his apartment?
Yeah, all mangled up and
quarters?
crushed. I'm like, that's not what happened. Like, where the hell did he get that? You know? But and here's the thing: if he was
all
gonna,
kinds of stuff.
if they were going to recycle something, they should have at least gone the way of the super sequel, the first super sequel, not the super sequel. Okay, but episodes 1 through 3. Episodes 1 through 3. Do you know one distinct feature of those movies that followed the original trilogy? He threw Darth Maul down a shaft. Who gets thrown down a shaft? Nobody. What does Kylo Ren do? He stabs Han Solo. Stabs him. This is a man that shot Greedo under the table. And he just stabs him. Nope, I'm not on board. Just not on board.
So, is one of your problems the fact that they used Muppets to begin with and now they're using CGI?
Part of it, or at least that they didn't do something innovative. It wasn't innovative. What the first Star Wars trilogy brought us was something
Or
we'd
was
never
known for,
seen
yeah.
before.
Yeah.
What the second trilogy brought us was something that they could put inside of a nursery.
Yeah.
That was it. Okay? It was a demographic-pleasing monstrosity.
I wouldn't go that far.
Purely for the numbers.
I'm okay with that.
I'm part of the numbers, so I didn't think it was that bad. I mean, I do have some problems with it, but I mean, if you do
Don't
go
get
back
me
and watch
wrong.
the
I mean-
originals
Do I-
and you see Yoda as a Muppet, he is so much better as a Muppet than he is CGI.
He is.
I wholeheartedly agree with you there.
If you and don't
But-
get me wrong, it's dated. All right, I will give, like I said, I'll forgive episodes 1 through 3. I actually will, even for the reasons that you talk about with reaching the new generation. Fine, all right. I'll even, like I said, I can't complain about and Silent Observer. I know how much you hate Jar Jar Binks, but let's be fair.
Wait, I'm talking about not for episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
I'm talking about Force Awakens.
Okay, well, hold on a second. I'll talk about He Who Does Not Exist in a moment. We have to forgive Jar Jar Binks. Do you know why? Ewoks. Let's face it.
Yes.
Let's
I
face
agree.
it.
I agree. Wholeheartedly.
That's right. You gotta give him Jar Jar.
What?
You
Why
gotta
does
give him Jar
everybody
Jar.
hate the
I don't know. Could it be that they because they crushed a chicken walker with two logs? I don't know.
Well, you know the story behind that, right? Is that they were actually supposed to be Wookiees. they wanted that final battle to end with Wookiees, and they were like, no, the Wookiees are too destructive. Let's pick something cute and cuddly. So that's
Yeah, of course.
that's when they created the
Don't get me
Ewoks.
wrong.
Because to this day, one of my friends.
Boy, I'm gonna lose some faithful followers.
So till this day, my friend
I like
hates
the
it.
Ewoks.
Really?
I like the Ewoks. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I was like 12 when I saw them. Of course, I like the Ewoks. Kick-ass
See, you
ninja
were
teddy
a
bears.
demographic pleaser too at one point.
Okay, and look, at the end of the day, it's not the Gungans that I hate.
Like the
All right,
Gungans.
because I like the big guy.
So when you come home from work, you're like, God damn it.
Yes, I do.
home.
Every day. Every day. I
He
get
just
in.
rants all day.
I pull off my rain jacket. I hang up my fedora. I light my cigarette. I get my scotch. I sit at my desk. I contemplate my life, and I go, fucking Gungans. No, I like the
That.
Gungans. I especially like and actually, out of all the technology, because I will give 1 through 3 the droids, too. Like, the droids were cool. Even though they were a little too advanced to be from the past,
Yeah.
I liked them. And I liked the Gungan technology. I really, really liked the Gungan technology. I thought that was awesome. I loved that whole battle scene and everything.
Yeah, see, even my whole friend, he goes, the Gungans are great warriors. It's just sad that, Jar Jar Binks is the one that represents them.
Yes! Yes! That's like the aliens have arrived. Who do you want to send to meet them? Where's that guy that played Pee Wee Herman? Or Bobcat Goldthwait. Let's get Bobcat Goldthwait.
Send him out there.
Oh,
I shouldn't have put those two in the same, because Bobcat Goldthwait, man, was actually funny. But Pee Wee Herman was just tragic.
No. Wow, we are so different.
Mongo might be leaving the show.
Very, very soon.
Yeah, here in about 2 episodes. Anyway, so wow, we this is why we don't do 45-minute episodes. But at the end of the day, I don't think that if you're doing all right. Let's see if any. I realize that I'm like mostly talking here and cutting everybody off, but tell me if we can agree on this. Remakes, reboots, or super sequels, no matter what the case may be, unless you're doing it for the right reasons, don't do it at all. Star Trek was a reboot that J.J. Abrams did with a little too much lens flare, I'll give you that I could get behind because I felt like it was actually for good reasons. Don't get me wrong, there is a little bit of profit involved. They're doing these movies to sell these movies to make lots of money, all right? And if you have any delusions otherwise, well...
It's all about money.
Start watching indie films.
Yeah, keep reading Thoreau and and Emerson, but stay out of Hollywood because that's what they do.
Of course, there is one movie I did see over the summer that I thought it was more about the person than the money itself.
What's that?
Don't attack me when I say this. It is a Disney movie. Cars 3.
Did not see that one coming.
No.
Did not see it
Cars
at
3.
all.
I haven't seen Cars.
Let
I
me
just, wait a minute. I have such a problem with that because I'm so emotionally involved with those characters.
Let me see.
They fucked up Mater.
He's already been messed up. It's cool.
But yeah, that's true. That is true. All right, let me explain why.
Okay, right.
If you watch the movie and everything else, it was more about Paul Newman's character.
Okay.
It was basically, to me, it was basically what's the word I'm looking for? Homage.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Homage for him. To me, it felt like they were doing it for Paul Newman.
Okay. I'll accept that, despite that it's kind of a surprising genre and type of movie to call that on. I will call that a valid point. I absolutely will. Star Wars, Disney, stop screwing up my childhood. All right? You already had 30 years to do it.
Well,
Okay, can you
And
get
it started with Tron freaking legacy.
Oh my god! Oh, that was a travesty.
It was a travesty. That was absolutely done for the wrong reasons.
It was bad enough that the first one wasn't all that
the worst.
great.
The first one wasn't all that great, but it was the campiness. We got beyond the campiness because the idea was so cool. Then they tried to recycle the idea with better CGI, and I don't know if they were like Jeff, man, I don't.
There was better CGI, but the story was lacking.
Yes,
a
it was.
lot.
Dude,
I agree.
it's the only time in recent history that I can think of saying Jeff Bridges totally phoned it in. I feel like the director went to him and went, "Can we get a little less Flynn and a little bit more Big Lebowski?"
Yeah, exactly. It was the dude. It was actually
It
the
was
dude.
the dude in the fucking shirt.
It was the dude. It was just like, really, you're gonna have the dude play this character?
Right, they should have had this wide panning shot going into his house. You remember that, the wide panning shot going? They should have, they should have had CCR playing. Looking out my
They might as well
back
have
door.
like Steve Buscemi and John Goodman into the suits walking in.
Right. He should have looked. Yeah, he should have looked over and been like, "Tron, you're out of your element. You're out of your element." Anyway, yeah, that was a travesty. So if it's done for the right reasons, which so few are, the only ones that I can think of, the only one I can think of is Star Trek. Of the recent things, now there's a time to do a reboot. There's a time to bring the next generation in. I have seen both versions of Pelham 1, 2, 3. I liked both. I liked the Walter Matthau version. I liked the John Travolta version.
Oceans, your Oceans.
I was just going to say, the Oceans movies. I liked the original Oceans movie. I liked the new trilogy. The Italian Job. I liked the original Italian Job. But I can give those because, I mean, we're talking like a generation could have died between these movies.
Right. Which
know
I
what
think
I
that
mean?
makes a
Right.
difference.
Right. These are your grandfather's TV shows and movies.
And just to clarify this, I am sick of zombies. I'm sick of
Yes.
pirates. I'm sick of vampires.
I'm sick of pirates and vampires.
Yes.
How can you get sick of zombies?
I never
though?
liked zombies to begin with.
I mean, they were great in the beginning, but now it's just being overused. You know, it's just.
Where are they using them nowadays?
Well, I mean, you got The Walking Dead.
I
pretty much.
can't do it. I will.
The new-
people are
well,
going to hate
not
me, but I
newer,
can't.
but-
I can't do Walking Dead.
I never watched Walking Dead either.
Yeah,
I couldn't get into it. It was too much.
You got Walking Dead. You got World War Z.
Yeah,
it
I was
just
about to
seems
say
like
No,
World War Z.
World
that
War
was a good,
Z.
That was a
That's
good
wait a
movie.
minute. No,
You're the
I have
only
to
one of
say-
us that liked it.
I
I,
like
hated
World
it.
War
That
Z.
was
we already
no.
talked about books and movies, but I have to go back on something and say that's the worst book to movie ever. Because it's nothing. There's nothing tying the book and movie together at all.
Then I-
And what you've done is you've spit on Max Brooks' grave. I don't know if he's dead,
what-
but
you spit around somewhere around the area.
you spit where his
Where
funeral
he's at.
plot is. All right,
We're
at
going
least.
to be.
Yeah. And that was a brilliant
What was
book.
the?
Oh,
what was
Tarzan
the-
was another one. Stop making Tarzans.
Yeah.
Ooh, I've got a dangerous one because I have mixed feelings, especially because I had never thought that I would be this disappointed in Christopher Walken, but The Jungle Book.
Yeah.
Jungle
Oh,
Book.
really?
It
The
was.
CGI was great, but the story was
I heard two
no.
different. I heard two different.
And it was
sides to
creepy. It
It
bordered
was,
on creepy.
Yeah, it was not right at
You know,
all.
and King Louis, cool idea,
Or
but it
Peter
should have
Pan's.
stayed an
that.
idea.
Oh, wait till they do the Lion King because they're supposed to be doing it pretty much the same
really?
way.
Are
Yeah.
you serious?
Mhm.
Or Peter Pan. They keep on making more and more Peter
Oh my God!
Pans.
Yeah, stop doing Peter Pan.
Yeah.
Here's an idea. Get some unique ideas,
Or-
and not from Michael Bay.
Oh, different books.
Right? Different, right?
Different books. And jeez.
There's a whole Victorian era that you guys only touched on briefly with League, and even that was actually a graphic novel.
And Clash of the Titans. Oh my God, that was horrible.
Really?
You can't redo that anyway.
Oh, we
there
have
there
Clash
are
of
some
Titans
things.
and-
You didn't see the original though, did you?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
think I forced you
you
to watch
can't.
it.
You can't.
You have it? Is that the one that we own?
No.
That's one I don't think anybody should be. I think by law there should be a law on
Both
the
of
books
the
that you
recent
can't touch
Clash of the
that.
Titans was horrible. Horrible.
You just can't. You can't. You can't. Yeah, that's one of those. Despite when it's from,
Yeah, and
was
because
I
I love my mythology. I mean, just like
right.
You know, Percy Jackson was way better than Clash
Oh
of the
my
Titans.
gosh.
Well,
speaking
Percy
of
Jackson
books-
was
books-
amazing.
Yeah, when it comes
Dude.
to movies, I don't think they.
Poker face, man. Poker face.
I can't see.
We'll see what.
I thought you were looking at.
No, the song in Percy Jackson. Why would you?
That was in. It was.
Yeah, in the Lotus
It was
Blossom
in
scene.
the Sea
I don't
of
remember.
Monsters.
Because it was popular.
It was popular at the time. Yeah,
It's not a good reason to do anything.
Well, it was the time.
why they
unless
do
unless you're the
everything.
Jonas Brothers,
That is
it's
why
not
they
a good
do
reason to do
everything.
anything.
Getting back to the book
Well,
movies,
the
that's
time-
actually one of the ones I actually
yeah,
enjoyed.
exactly. I
enjoyed
agree
the book
with
and
that.
I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed parts of the movie. There were parts of the movie that I was like the whole scene, the whole Lotus Blossom scene actually was like.
I
I like
like.
the books better.
I like the
I
second-
like the
I
books
do
I
like
better.
the
feel-
books better.
Yeah.
I do agree, but I think the Sea of Monsters, they were pretty spot on. There wasn't much that they missed in the second one.
Okay, I'll give you that.
I
don't
like
know.
the Three
I'm not
Witches
sure.
too.
I haven't
Three
seen. I
Witches
haven't read
were
that
funny.
one.
The
Yeah,
blind
well,
witches,
yeah, yeah.
They were really
All right,
funny.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, but yeah, it's just get something else. I mean,
Yeah.
just because a studio's like, oh my god, this is popular, so now we have to do this. No, do something different.
Let's make
do,
more and more of
do
them.
something polar
Right.
opposite of
Stop.
what that other theater is doing.
Exactly.
Stop being Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. Leave Star Wars alone. Leave Indiana Jones alone.
Yes.
Leave the $6 Million Man alone. For God's sake, I don't know if they're doing it, but Jesus,
Now they
just
are.
leave them alone. Are they?
No,
Yeah,
we're
right.
saying that because you said it.
Right. Secretly,
Somebody's out there going, "Wow, what a great idea!"
Yeah, secretly Michael Bay actually does watch the show. And he's like, shit. I could get 9 or 10 movies out of the first episode. Hey, do we still have that footage of that SUV on the expressway? Christ.
I mean, there are some things that I wouldn't mind seeing. I mean, just because they didn't do well in the box office, but I think they have great concepts.
Oh, no, there's things I think they should retry, too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think they should take a risk or something. Like, to me, I think what Ghostbusters, because I know we were talking about Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
It was a risk.
I would like to see Ghostbuster as a TV series.
Yeah, that would be cool.
You know,
Yeah.
done-
Well,
Yeah.
what did they
done
just do? What did they just do that I was like, wait, that's a TV show now? Oh, Lethal Weapon.
Yeah.
It's a TV show now, and
Yeah.
I have to try it.
I
It's
haven't
got to be better than the movies.
I can't
I
get
haven't
into it.
seen those.
I can't even bring myself to watch the first episode of that.
I'm having trouble, I'll admit,
It's-
especially because of who they have playing.
Right.
I'm
Who?
like,
Who's playing what?
Well, I know Damon Wayans.
Damon
is,
I
Wayans
thought
is
that was a movie,
Murtaugh.
but it's going to be a TV show.
That's a TV show, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Dwayne Wayne.
I just don't know if I. Yeah, I agree.
And who-
I think
who's
the problem
playing Mel
is the
Gibson's
actors
character?
are such polar
It's-
opposites.
yeah. I can't see
I'm not
Lethal
sure.
Weapon being done without Danny Glover and Mel Gibson.
Yeah.
No, well, I could see it being done without Mel Gibson, but
Danny Glover, well, we'll just wait
because
for that
here's the
show.
deal: there are times when that's worked. All right, one last thing, just on the switching actor thing. One last thing, because there's actually a TV show that got away with it from the movie. We talked about it earlier, Stargate. Richard Dean Anderson replacing Kurt Russell was a fantastic idea. The guy that plays Daniel replacing James Spader,
He did a great job.
he did a great job.
Oh, yeah.
Despite
Yeah.
the fact I loved James Spader in the movie. He's Kurt Russell, okay? He was Snake Plissken, and you knew he was Snake Plissken going into it because he's Kurt Russell. But I didn't mind that. I didn't mind the change up for that.
Well, they actually took it from the creators and made it into a series without even really telling them because they were just like, well, we were sitting up there deciding whether if we were going to make a sequel to that, and they already had set to make a TV show about it, and they were just like, well, what the hell? We didn't even get a chance to figure out what we wanted to do with this.
That almost disappoints me.
So yeah. But in further episodes, though, I do remember that when Kurt Russell was doing Graceland. He was doing some kind of Graceland movie or something like that. He went to visit the set, and so you see him and Richard Dean Anderson like talking and just buddying up, and it was just like the greatest thing. So I was just like, I was okay with it. I didn't get a chance to watch it when it started out, but I'm glad I did because
Right.
it is a great show. And 10 seasons of Stargate was amazing.
Right. And you know what? Atlantis was probably one of those spin-offs that I couldn't believe didn't suck. I actually think it might have been a little better.
It was pretty good.
It had a little trouble in the beginning finding its grounding, but when it did, it took off.
Yeah. And Stargate Universe, I still haven't watched it yet, and I really don't want to. No,
Don't.
I know. Oh, I know.
He said
Don't.
don't.
No, don't.
I know,
Don't
but-
even bother. Although
but you'll give Discovery a chance.
I can give you the. No. I said I would watch Discovery, so I would know.
So what he can critique it.
Yeah.
Then.
Okay, no. I get Know Thy Enemy. I get it. Totally get it.
I'm with him. I'm gonna keep watching it
I guess
because
I'll
I
have
don't
to.
feel right bashing
Like,
something
well,
without
I
knowing what I'm
guess-
bashing
Exactly,
completely.
that's-
That's not right.
Anyway,
That's
we are way over, guys.
I know.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right. Remakes, reboots, and super sequels. We might have to have another show on this just
I
because.
think you need to almost have one for each one of them.
Yeah, you
Okay.
get part
don't-
2.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's all right. We should. I think we
Yeah.
should. There.
This will not
Expect.
end.
Right. We'll be back.
Be continued.
I shouldn't even. We didn't even get into Terminator. But anyway, all right. So.
Now you bring it up.
Should've brought that up a
we
while.
might agree on that one.
Oh.
Never should have. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right.
And
So
with that,
we've just like Full House, we're ending with everybody still being friends.
Yep.
And everything's back to normal. Anyway, until next week, I'm the Blurry Dude.
I'm Mongo.
I'm Mini Dude.
I'm the bean counter.
Peace.
Peace.